Hello and thanks for checking out TheChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello stock friends, looking at Canadian MJ here, wrapping up the week. We'll look at the US MJ sector later this weekend. And let's get right into it. I didn't do a whole lot of trading today intentionally. It's a nice Friday, and after a really good week, I'm not going to give any of those gains back. So just monitored positions that I was already in, and I did make a little bit of movement. Entered a little CVSI position. We'll talk about that in the US MJ video, and also did a little action on the IAN entry from yesterday. But we're not going to talk about that this video. So for CGC, daily inside bar, and we can see with the open, when you see a wide range on the candlestick before the previous day, and you see an open right in the middle of that range, you can anticipate the odds that a daily inside bar is going to form being likely. And if I see that scenario, especially in this setup where we're looking for a daily high or low, if this inside bar breaks bullish, our daily high or low is set down at 47.22. If it breaks bearish, then we're still seeing a lower high every candlestick, and we have not formed that high or low yet. So I see that candlestick starting to form, and I can very easily say to myself, I have no interest in trading that today because I know an inside bar is a tightening range. We want to see volatility to lead to trading opportunity, and when you're trading within a confined range, that's not the case. So I personally just saw that setup and said, I'll wait for Monday. And if we get that inside bar bull break, maybe I'll make that entry. Depends on where we start Monday and where the market stands as a whole. As we pointed out in the market video last night, we had the Buffett buying Amazon news, and that was a big boost and a big short-term sentiment shift on the sector as a whole. So, simple as that, inside bar for CGC. Had a lot of MJ names today with inside bars because of the large ranges from yesterday, and Cron was another one. So Cron, we're looking at a higher low having to form on the daily time frame compared to 1547. We have our low, high of the bull move, and now we're looking for a higher low compared to that level. And to see a clear daily trend change, we need to hold 1547 and break 1767, because as of right now on the weekly time frame, this is a bear flag setup. And if this bounce gets no more follow through, we could see another leg down on Cron. We have to be ready for that. We saw what the sector did in response to weakness of the S&P 500 Wednesday and Thursday. So if we see weakness again in the S&P 500 this coming week, there is the potential that it drags Cron down to lower lows. Checking ACB. Daily inside bar, tightening range. So looking at it on the hourly time frame, we did have a little higher low down at 866. Held that at the low of the day, held the low of the day by 1 penny. So 66, 69, and 70 are some hourly supports, and anything under the high of the day will just be a resistance level. But again, it's the same as everything else. We need an inside bar bull break over 888 for the bulls, and if we break below 869, we have not formed a support level yet, still pulling back. I'm more concerned with the longer term time frame for ACB, the weekly chart, just sideways the last 6 weeks, with no follow through from the bulls, just patiently waiting for some kind of catalyst that can shift this momentum. Otherwise, we've been within this tightening range for a very long time. APHA dropping down to lower lows, still the lead bear, still closing down at the lows, and there's opportunity for people that are not in positions right now, in the sense that, you know, if we look at this monthly time frame, and we can anticipate that a monthly higher low is likely to form compared to 375. And we look at the weekly chart, and the RSI is now down in the 30s. We bounced with that terrible news in the short attack, driving the price down just right to weekly oversold. So if we get down to those levels again and drop to the lower $6 range, that may have my interest. The daily time frame getting pretty oversold would also capture my interest. We have not seen 2 green days in a row in a month at this point. On the daily time frame, anything under 767 is just a lower high. And as far as support goes, we know it's limited. We're looking down at 678 and then a gap at 670. If we were to drop down and fill this gap, I might have interest in a short-term oversold bounce. If the hourly, 4-hour, and daily RSI are all oversold when that gap fills, I might get interested. But I'll be very picky because we have names consolidating in uptrends. CGC, Curaleaf, OGI, Hexo. These names are all in uptrends. APHA is a downtrend. I only like these names because just one of my strategies, or I should say one of my edges as a trader, is oversold bounces. I don't know why that is. That's how I developed as a trader. I really like those plays. It's worked very well in the MJ space. It's worked very well in cryptocurrency. So I stick with what works. And that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. In fact, it's one of the harder kinds of plays, especially for those who are newer to learning how to trade. So I certainly would not suggest attempting it, but I love it. So I'm going to attempt it. Not anytime soon, though. Patiently scouting, but nothing nearby. TLRY. So we have our low of 47.68 and we have our high of the bounce. That's up at 54.10. It's a very similar setup to what we're seeing on Cron. We're fading back down. We have to hold this low and break that 54.10 high to change this daily trend clearly. Otherwise, another leg down is coming. Certainly looks like a weak bear flag on the weekly. And if we see another leg down under that 48.34 level, we certainly know there is a lack of support in this range. And I would be looking at a gap fill of 44.37. If daily RSI, 4-hour RSI, and weekly RSI, if that weekly RSI gets oversold, I'll be interested in TLRY. And there are people who are fundamentally starting to gain interest in TLRY again. I just had a conversation maybe 3-4 weeks ago with a financial advisor who was asking about the space, and he was well aware of TLRY. He was interested in the USMJ space, but he was talking about how, you know, he had shorted TLRY or sold calls against it when it was up in the upper 200s, and how he was getting back interested in making a long position because it has pulled back so significantly. So I'm keeping an eye on these weak plays, knowing that if the marijuana space as a whole were to recover, there would be some decent gains off of these lows. But again, we can just keep it simple and play names and uptrends, which is what I'm doing for the most part over the last month. OGI. So here's one of our daily uptrends coming off of all-time highs. Daily inside bar today. Let's see what it looks like on a shorter term time frame. Hourly higher low is 954, and the bulls have to hold 954 to keep that hourly uptrend. As far as resistance goes, 998 and 10 psychological right there as well. So it's the kind of move where if we see this daily inside bar break bullish, our daily higher low has clearly been set at 947, but we closed weak. So we closed weaker, closer to a support break than a resistance break. We need 9 cents for a support break, and we would need 25 cents, 26 cents for a resistance break. So if we come down and break 964 Monday morning, that tells us we're not confident in our higher low on the daily being set just yet, and we'll see if 947 can hold. That would be our low point that the bulls would want to maintain. And we can look at the 4-hour time frame for clarity. As we can see, we might confirm the 4-hour downtrend now. We have lost the 4-hour uptrend, and we could confirm it as a downtrend if that 947 level were to be able to hold. If it held, and then we would turn around and break 998, that would be a clear shift back to looking towards that all-time high. Hexo. So another name with a daily inside bar. We are patiently waiting, and you can see it's a much different close. The resistance needed to break 782. We have to go 9 cents, and support we would have to drop 20. Nope, a little bit less than that. We'd have to drop 16 cents. So it's a daily inside bar, a tightening range. The hourly time frame does have these little higher lows and higher highs. Remember yesterday's video, it was one of the names that had already established a clear hourly higher low, and we broke resistance of 763 right after the bell rang. So right when the bell rang. And that 763 move, we saw a 19-cent move of follow through, so a couple percent, then an hourly higher low, and then just sideways trading. Not a whole lot going on today in the market as a whole. So inside bar, I mean, you could count them up. At this point, we're going to have 20 plus inside bars on the daily time frame across Canadian and US sector to be watching on Monday. Break it bullish, then our daily higher low is clearly set. Break it bearish, and we have not set it yet. TRST, bounce follow through. So we're now filling some of this gap. The gap fills at 919 for TRST. And at this point, it can still be a bear flag. I personally do not think it will be a bear flag because of the amount of volume that has come in the last 2 days. But we have to always keep in mind it is a possibility, and that is the setup right now. Short-term support is $8, then $7.59 and $7.50, and the bulls have to break $8.24 first thing on Monday to see continuation of this bounce. Do not lose sight that we are looking for a daily lower high to form. Anything under 1021 is just a daily lower high. We need a clear higher low and higher high to change the daily trend, and at this point, that's a long way away from happening. VFF. So VFF has a scenario where we broke support of 15.29 in Canada, and we broke that by 19 cents. But then we held that level today and didn't see any follow through. So a bear break with no follow through is a good sign for the bulls. We have a higher low at 14.59. We have another higher low. Right now, a double bottom at 15.10 and 15.11 is the most important support. And the bulls need to shift this momentum and break 16 on Monday to stay in this tightening range and give the double top another chance. And $13 is the key resistance on the US side of things that we have to see break before we have confidence on the Canadian side of things. So a good job of holding support and not following through from the bear break. But the question is, can we break that $13 resistance and see the weekly bounce get some more follow through? Because again, the weekly chart right now is a potential bear flag. It's up to the bulls to break the double top of 13 on the US side to negate that potential weekly bear flag. T-God held on as well, daily inside bar. So if it breaks bearish, the bears still have control, and if it breaks bullish, we have a new support level established. This is another one like VFF where we broke support 416 to 414, but we got no follow through. So that has us shift our perspective and keep an eye on the bulls to see what they can put together from here. And if we can break 443, that will be a good sign that we can hold on here. The last thing that the bulls want to see is our weekly lower high already being set. I talked about in a recent video how that would be more bearish than bullish considering where we're coming from and how significant the bounce was compared to that. But holding support after the break and trying to shift back towards resistance with the shift in the overall S&P 500, bearish Wednesday, bearish Thursday, and bullish today being reflected on these names, trying to hold their key short-term support. VGW, this is a name where we haven't really gotten extended down. These little weak bounces on the hourly time frame have cooled off the RSI enough that we haven't hit hourly oversold yet. And we know that we're most comfortable looking for daily higher lows to form when we have hourly oversold conditions. We've pulled back now for 4 red days in a row. Must hold this low of 389 to keep the daily uptrend intact. And we came close to that level today. But again, not even oversold on the hourly. So we can drop down to that support and just be getting to oversold conditions. It's worth scouting for an entry Monday or Tuesday, but what I would want to see is either oversold hourly conditions for the first time coming off of the all-time high, or the bulls able to break some resistance. And we can see even just looking at the 15-minute time frame, it was a very clear downtrend all day. We did break a resistance right at the end of the day, but it didn't do anything. I would say bulls have to break 412 first thing on Monday to give us the indication that our daily higher low is potentially being set. Oil's still extremely strong. Another daily inside bar, break bearish, and we have to form a daily higher low compared to 60 cents, break bullish, and we have to look for the all-time high of 83 cents. If inside bars are not familiar to you on our YouTube channel, you can just search, I believe it's under trading lessons, but just search what is an inside bar, and we have a video talking about it and how to use it in a trade strategy. Labs on the daily chart, now we got the follow through. This is convincing. So we are in this equilibrium. And it's always nice when we stay in tightening ranges and we have our higher low down at 515. Anything under 632 is just a lower high. And we're going to anticipate that unless we see some solid bull volume on Monday, that we will probably form a daily lower high and stay in this tightening range. So if we form that lower high compared to 632, we'll look for a pullback towards early mid next week for a higher low compared to 515. And we'll look for a break of this pattern. If there's no news or any kind of catalyst, we're going to look for a break end of next week as it continues to tighten. NEPT, high of 435. So 435 is the key resistance. We did break 435 by a couple pennies yesterday, but no follow through today with another rejection of 434. So clearly still seeing some resistance here. And you could make the argument of a cup and handle pattern. The textbook cup and handle definition is the left side is higher than the right side. Here, this is close enough to call it a double top, so I would still call it a cup and handle pattern. This is healthy consolidation for the handle, and we would have to turn around Monday first thing and break 437 to a new, is that an all-time high? No. But we'd have to break 437 in order to confirm that 4-hour cup and handle pattern, and the bulls would want to see it on a lot of volume. So if I'm looking at volume comparisons, I'm looking at what's the first hour of volume for Friday, and I would want to see if the bulls are going to break 437, I would want to see over 200,000 shares to go with it on the first hour of trading. I would want to easily clear the volume of Friday today to prove that the bulls are breaking out and following through with that cup and handle pattern. CXXI. So we got the red flag on CXXI with the break of support here. We had an equilibrium tightening up with a bear break and didn't see a lot of follow through, but the bulls rejected today. So support is down at 142 and 141. If that double bottom breaks, the weekly time frame bear flag gets confirmed. That's a very important 141 support level. You can see there is a gap down at 126 after that. This is the line in the sand that is the battle zone right now. Let's just remove it and just look at 141 with these 1, 2, 3, 4 touches essentially. And if that breaks, look at the space below it. I would expect a volume spike, stops to get triggered, and bears to jump on it if that support level does break. Anything under 176 is just a lower high on the daily time frame. SPR is a daily inside bar, just like everybody else. 75 and 74 are our supports. And if we break 80 cents, then we're going to shift that momentum for the first time. But we know we have a clear double top. And I'm going to stop covering SPWR soon because I don't like it. I don't like the setup. I don't like the clarity. And if you're a penny stock and I don't like your setup, you're on the chopping block. So SPR is on the chopping block. Short-term support 69 is the most important level. And we're probably going to trade, if we hold 69 on this pullback and shift this momentum back towards the mid-80s, in the upper 80s, then we're probably going to trade within this range of 69 to 108 for weeks at this point. Again, pending any kind of news catalyst. NRTH. So this is the kind of penny stock where we can have some action. A spike in bull volume and a change in the daily trend. We had the low, high of the bounce, higher low held support by 1 penny. There's your bull break. The bull break of 109 leading to a solid 5% of profit of follow through. We didn't close up at the high of the day, but still very strong overall with 124 is the next resistance level. The hourly time frame, bulls want to maintain 101. Might as well just call it 1 psychological. Next time we consolidate, if the bulls hold 1 psychological, they're just fine. But this is a weekly shift in momentum after all this consolidation. We pulled back 50% from that all-time high, and now we have that higher low double bottom established, and the bulls are going to try and bounce, and we're going to look for a weekly lower high to be set. But the question is, how much momentum can the bulls put behind it here? And ideally, they want to make their way back over 120 to 130 to try and form a weekly equilibrium from here. KHRN. So KHRN tried to tell us our daily higher low has formed, and we got solid follow through. We broke the high of yesterday, 347, and got all the way up to 360, but then a lot of profit taking by the end of the day. So looking at that on the hourly time frame, we pulled back significantly. Technically, it's still an hourly uptrend, though I would be looking for an equilibrium. We have the low, high of the bounce. Bulls looking for an hourly higher low. Monday, they need to hold 335 and break 345 to see an hourly equilibrium start to form. Looking for clarity on KHRN, 4-hour time frame. So I like the hourly chart. Still a higher low. If we bounce and reject and then drop to a lower low, that would be a red flag for the bulls. But as of right now, a wide range. So we're going to anticipate an hourly equilibrium to form within that range. So what this week proved to us is the power of the S&P 500 correlation. Even just a small percent and a half pullback on the S&P 500, it was maybe 1 or 2%, but it led to some names pulling back 4 to 6%. So as we keep saying, SPY at all-time highs is the ideal market environment. When that changes, we have to be very cautious of what the sector is going to do. It changed very briefly, but the S&P 500 is still right up at the all-time highs, and the bulls that are forming daily higher lows still have my attention, because if SPY goes to all-time highs next week, we're going to be looking for daily higher lows to be set in CGC, OGI, Hexo, Curaleaf, all these names that are really strong, and we're going to be looking for continuation of their uptrends if the all-time high runs continue as well. So hope you have a good weekend. Hope you had a good week. And we are going to be doing another throwback here. Nerdbird and Edna eating out of the same food. I ended up closing, fortunately, on a mini farm. So in a couple months, we're going to start a new adventure of building homestead infrastructure and establishing a mini farm and eventually getting animal friends, and lots of work to do, lots of hassle, but it'll be worth it. And looking forward to sharing the adventure. And I'll see you all in the MJ video on the US side and the market video. If you want to have a complete view of what's going on, watch those market videos. See you soon.
Oh.